Unlock Heavenly Testimonies, 7 Divine Secrets Revealed for Supernatural Answered Prayers. In the quaint village of Bethelbrook, nestled between rolling hills and flowering fields, whispers of despair echoed through the chapel's ancient walls. Pastor Thomas, a gentle guide cloaked in unwavering faith, faced the dark clouds of doubt settling over his beloved congregation. The chapel, once vibrant with prayer and laughter, saw attendance dwindle as economic hardships weighed heavily on the hearts of the villagers. Many began to lose faith in the very power of their prayers. As the moonlight bathed the chapel in a silver glow, Thomas felt a stirring in his heart. "We must gather," he declared, his voice ringing with a palpable urgency, "and let our prayers rise like fragrant incense." Thus, he organized a month-long prayer vigil, inviting everyone to bring their struggles and hopes into the circle of love and faith. Among the villagers was Martha, a steadfast widow with a heart burdened by the illness of her only son, Daniel. Her faith was anchored in her devotion to a revered patron saint, her steadfast strength that flickered like a candle in the night. Yet, even her light began to wane under the weight of her grief as neighbors murmured skepticism about her hopeful prayers. "What can hope do when fate is sealed?" they scoffed, casting doubt like shadows over her resolve. Each evening, the chapel filled with villagers, some hopeful, others hesitant. The air was thick with tension, punctuated by heartfelt prayers and sorrowful sighs. It was during these nights that Thomas began to uncover the stories that formed the tapestry of their faith, the miraculous testimonies that whispered of God's grace in the most unlikely places. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days unfolded, the villagers listened in awe as Thomas unearthed the 7 divine secrets to receiving answered prayers. Each shared story came alive, each a spark of hope, as testaments of healing and grace mingled with tears and laughter. Martha would sit at the back, fighting back tears while allowing herself moments of warmth, thinking of Daniel's face filled with joy amidst his struggles. Things came to a head one fateful twilight when Dr. Thompson, the village's most prominent doctor, brow furrowed with disbelief, boldly challenged the gathered. "Can your prayers truly change fate?" His words hung in the air like a heavy fog, igniting a fierce debate among villagers. Doubt seeped into hearts, threatening to drown the glimmers of hope ignited by Thomas's words. Just when despair threatened to swallow them whole, a miracle, a divine intervention occurred within the hallowed walls of the chapel. A hush fell as the room seemed to vibrate with an unseen power. Martha's heart raced when Daniel, once frail and near the edge, suddenly stood, strength glimmering in his eyes. The warmth of healing enveloped the room, as astonished whispers of "it's impossible" turned into joyous cries of "praise God." As the shouts of praise echoed, a newfound faith rose in the village, but the lingering challenge remained. Would the villagers unite and push past the shadows of doubt? The night draped itself in an air of expectancy, their hearts entwined in prayer. As Thomas looked around, he could feel it, a divine mystery poised to transform lives. How would their devotion shape this miraculous journey? What was waiting just around the corner? The journey of faith had just begun. As dawn crept over the horizon the next morning, the golden light spilled into the chapel like a river of hope. The villagers, still buzzing from the miraculous events of the night, trickled in, their faces etched with a mixture of disbelief and awe. Pastor Thomas stood at the front, his heart swelling with a renewed sense of purpose. The air was alive with the holy whisper of something big brewing in the spirit. "Martha, Daniel," he called, waving the two forward. The pair stepped into the light, and everyone hushed, their eyes wide, attending to the undeniable truth embodied in the young boy's newfound strength. The whispers of doubt that once clung so closely began to dissolve in the warmth of testimonies shared and faith rekindled. With a profound yet gentle spirit, Thomas embraced Martha. "Share your heart with us," he urged, his voice steady yet full of tenderness. Martha hesitated, then spoke, her voice trembling like the wings of a bird ready to take flight. "I was a mother bereft, clutching onto a thread of hope that felt so thin. When I saw Daniel rise last night, I was reminded of the promise we have." Tears streamed down her face, shimmering like the morning dew. "I believed in my heart that God could heal, and He did." As Martha shared her story, the congregation leaned in closer, caught in the warmth of her testimony. It ignited a fire in the hearts of onlookers, many of whom had battled their own storms of despair. One by one, villagers began to rise. A farmer with calloused hands spoke of his barren fields. "I prayed for rain, no more drought. Look at the clouds today." He pointed towards the sky, where faint rain clouds gathered. Laughter mingled with tears as more voices joined in, sharing their burdens and celebrating the miracles that had touched their lives. The chapel transformed. What had begun as a space of uncertainty morphed into a sanctuary resounding with faith. The flames of belief flickered higher as hearts opened wide to the divine presence. Yet, amidst all this, a challenge crept forth. A great wave of answers, but what if tomorrow's clouds are still gray? "What about tomorrow?" murmured an elderly woman, her voice tinged with the wisdom of experience. Silence wrapped around her words as if the congregation held its breath in fear of lingering doubt. Thomas stepped forward, feeling the weight of that unsettling question. "Friends, it is in the valley where our faith is forged. Just as gold is purified in fire, so too are we tested. Hold fast to your hope. For where our hearts are anchored in trust, mountains can be moved." The villagers nodded, some with glimmers of fear still flickering though their eyes felt lighter. A new expectation hovered in the chapel like incense rising, sweet and heavy. As the gathering continued, a sobering recollection settled over Thomas. He remembered his own struggles before they found freedom in prayer, how faith had filled the empty spaces of his past. What purpose can God have in our waiting? He pondered, glancing at the flickering candles lighting corners of the chapel darkened by doubt. Just then, an unexpected hush fell upon the crowd. From the back, a small voice called out, "Pastor Thomas, what if we prayed not only for ourselves, but for the world beyond? What if our prayers could touch lives far away?" His heart skipped a beat. How many times had he considered the far-reaching effects of collective prayer? Wouldn't the impact be extraordinary? "Ah, dear one," he responded, "you've touched on something profound. But how do we step beyond our borders? How do we unfurl our prayers like wings to soar higher?" Questions or roots of faith remained, ready to take this community on a transformative journey. Would they rise together as a beacon of hope? Would they step beyond boundaries, united in prayer that could touch lives unaware? As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows, Pastor Thomas turned his eyes toward heaven with anticipation. What awaited them as they deepened their prayers, tapping into divine truths he had yet to discover? The answers that lay ahead shimmered on the horizon as the village of Bethelbrook stood poised, a community ready to unlock the fullness of faith beyond their wildest dreams. As the sun began its descent, the golden hues faded into a tapestry of twilight, casting a serene glow over Bethelbrook. The chapel, still buzzing with the energy of hope, felt alive with fervor as the villagers pondered the call to extend their prayers beyond familiar boundaries. Pastor Thomas sensed the stirrings of excitement mixed with uncertainty. The weight of their aspirations lay heavy in the air. He could see the deep thought etched on their faces. What if our prayers could affect the lives of those far beyond these walls? He asked the gathering, his voice echoing in eager anticipation. Are we willing to step into the unknown? Martha's eyes sparkled as she raised her hand once more. What if we prayed for the families struggling, for children lost in darkness? How can our small prayers mirror God's infinite love? Her words echoed in the hearts of many, igniting a wave of energy that swept through the congregation. A young woman, her cheeks flushed with newfound zeal, stood up. I want to pray for the people in faraway lands. They need hope too. Thomas felt a spark, a divine flicker ignited by genuine faith. Yes, let us gather our hearts in unity, he proclaimed, his voice rising with passion. We will pray for those we may never meet, binding ourselves together in spirit and in purpose. But doubt, the ever-looming shadow, crept back into the minds of some. What does our small village matter in the grand scope of suffering? Questioned an older man, his brow furrowed with concern. We're just a handful among millions. Thomas approached him gently. Look around, my friend. Here, we have witnessed miracles. What starts as a single flame can ignite an inferno. The power of our prayers united can ripple across the globe, touching hearts we may never see. As he spoke, a warmth enveloped the chapel, as if heaven itself pressed down to listen. With every passing moment, anticipation magnetized the air. The villagers, their spirits emboldened, found strength in each other. Gathering in circles, they clasped hands, forming an unbreakable chain symbolizing their collective faith. Pastor Thomas led them in prayer, his voice steady yet filled with passion. Heavenly Father, we lift our voices not just for ourselves, but for those burdened by pain. We seek your grace to flow through us, spreading love like ripples in a pond. With each sentence, hearts knitted tighter. The atmosphere thickened with divine possibilities, hearts swelling with expectancy. A young boy's voice suddenly broke through, pure and clear. Can we pray for the lost? For the ones who don't know you? Thomas paused. Yes, little one, he replied, his heart swelling with gratitude. Let us pray for every soul searching for light, that they find it in the darkness. As the congregation prayed, a sense of unity blossomed, rising as if to meet the heavens. Pastor Thomas felt it, a gentle swell of the Spirit wrapping around them like a warm blanket. In our prayers, we unlock doors we had never dared to open. We invite divine love to pour forth and create testimonies beyond our imagination. Hours passed as the congregation surrendered their requests to God. From whispers of anguish to declarations of faith, every prayer felt like petals released into the wind, waiting to take flight. Just then, a sudden silence fell over them, as if time paused. No one dared to speak, caught in the embrace of something divine. Thomas looked up. The candles flickered, casting dancing shadows that instilled a deeper reverence in every heart. With a profound sense of witness, he felt their prayers soaring beyond the walls of the chapel. What awaited them in this divine exchange? What stories would emerge from their faith and fervent prayers? As they opened their eyes, hope surged through them like a flood. The walls of doubt wavered, and unity sparkled in their gazes. What would the world unveil next through their collective hearts? They were not just a village, but a collective vision ready to forge ahead and unlock the fullness of their faith. What awaited them on this uncharted journey into the great beyond? Little did they know, their next steps might just set the stage for a divine revelation that would change everything. As dawn broke over Bethelbrook, the villagers stirred from their slumber, invigorated by the night's fervent prayers. Morning light spilled through the chapel windows, illuminating the faces of those who had gathered again, their expressions a tapestry of hope and eager anticipation. Pastor Thomas stood at the pulpit, heart lightened by the revelation that their generous prayers had woven as a collective offering. Family, he began, his voice a gentle breeze sweeping through the room. Last night was just the beginning. God has awakened something in us. Can you feel it? Murmurs of agreement flowed through the congregation, vibrating with life as the promise of what was to come hung in the air like honeyed nectar. Martha, emboldened by their shared experience, stood once more. What if we dedicate this week to prayer? Let us create a wave of intercession that envelopes our village and extends to those suffering around the world. Each day can be a new focus, a new flame lighting hearts. Thomas nodded, affirming her passionate proposal. Yes, let us shape our prayers into a mighty vessel, carrying love, healing, and hope. He could feel the spirits rise, the energy in the chapel becoming a living current as they imagined the possibilities. At that moment, a soft voice broke through the excitement. Sarah, a quiet woman known for her caring nature, spoke. But what if our prayers feel small? How can we believe they matter? The congregation paused, the weight of her words hanging in the air like a lingering note from a stringed instrument. Thomas approached her, embracing the moment with tenderness. Sarah, remember the parable of the mustard seed? What seems tiny can grow into something extraordinary. Every prayer, no matter how small, nurtures growth. Together, they become a forest of faith. His words seemed to ignite a light in the room. They could visualize the prayers sprawling out, intertwining like branches above their heads, reaching further than their eyes could see. The sun continued its ascent, casting warm rays onto the chapel floor as laughter began to blend with the discussions. They broke into groups, laughing and sharing their visions for the week ahead. Ideas flowed like a gentle brook, with each offering unique shades of hope and dreams of transformation for those they intended to pray for. With every conversation, a tender grace settled over them, an aura whispering promises. The day unfolded as they committed their hearts to specific themes for each day: healing, provision, comfort, and renewal. Excitement bubbled within them, imagining the connections already forming in the heavenly realms. As the week progressed, they dedicated themselves to the prayers they had chosen. Letters of encouragement were penned to families in need, stored in God's care, solidifying the community's response to the cries of the hurting. On the fourth day, they gathered again, their faces glowing with anticipation. "Something incredible is happening, Pastor," exclaimed a young woman named Eliza, her eyes bright and wide. "I've heard stories of lives changing, responses coming even from places we thought were lost." The room erupted, hearts dancing at the thought of transformation. Their faith was shifting the atmosphere, as if a veil between heaven and earth had thinned. "Look around," Thomas encouraged, "for every act of faith, every prayer spoken creates a bridge. Together we are not only reaching for the world, we are welcoming it into the embrace of God's love." But in this swell of hope, a faint whisper of discouragement hovered at the edges. "Can our prayers truly change the world?" one whispered, clutching her hands tightly. Taking a deep breath, Thomas met her gaze. "What if God is ready to unveil something beyond our dreams? Can we believe that our collective faith can ripple out and bring transformation where we least expect it?" Just as curiosity began to ground itself, an undeniable sound filled the air, an otherworldly resonance that seemed to drift down from the heavens, wrapping around them like a comforting shawl. Could it be? Was the divine responding to their faith as they stood, transfixed by the unseen possibilities? An unspoken question hung in the air. What profound answer might their prayers unlock next? The next morning, with the soft glow of dawn playing on the chapel's weathered stones, anticipation flooded the hearts of the villagers once more. Today was to be a special day, a day dedicated to healing. As they gathered, their eyes sparkled with hope and resolve, like a field of wildflowers swaying in the wind. Pastor Thomas, feeling a current of divine expectation, stood at the pulpit once more. "We've committed ourselves to this week of prayer," he said, his voice reverberating with warmth. "Today, we turn our hearts to those who need healing, both in body and spirit. Let us not only pray but also listen for the gentle prompting of the Holy Spirit." As heads bowed and hands clasped, a hush settled over the room, creating a sacred space where each soul could commune with God. The air thickened with expectancy. Sarah, bolstered by the week's encouragement, whispered a prayer aloud, her voice quivering with emotion. "Lord, heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds. May each prayer reach those who are hurting, carrying your love deep into their lives." With every murmur, faith grew. Martha and Eliza led the congregation into song, their harmonious voices weaving together a melody that tugged at hearts. The praising atmosphere became a symphony, rich and alive, like the sound of rushing waters. Tears of joy streamed down faces as they sang, each note lifting burdens and ushering peace. After the worship, Thomas stepped forward, sensing a profound shift. "Let us create a space for healing," he encouraged. "If anyone here feels called to speak of a need, let us come together now. Our prayers are not just whispers, they're shouts that shake the very foundations of spiritual realms." One by one, villagers stood to share their stories, confessions of physical ailments, emotional scars, and heartaches. They opened their hearts like fragile blossoms, trusting their community to cover them in prayer. As voices rose in unity, the chapel vibrated with the sound of fervent intercession. Hold each other in prayer, beloveds, Thomas urged, observing as pairs and small groups formed. God is moving among us. In the corners, Sarah cradled her friend's hand and prayed with boldness, her once quiet spirit ignited by the week's experience. You are loved, and healing is yours to claim, she asserted. As the prayers wrapped around each plea, a palpable energy filled the room. Whispers of faith erupted into proclamations, and miracles began to feel foreseeable. A woman named Harriet, overcome with emotion, suddenly said, "I felt a warmth run through my chest." Joy erupted as she shared her experience of relief from a long-time condition. God was moving, and the moment surged with divine presence, rippling through every heart. They spoke of healing, reaffirming promises like a buoyant wave rising higher. After a time of prayer, Thomas invited them to sit. "I believe we're on the verge of a breakthrough," he said, offering hope like a sapling reaching for sunlight. But remember, healing often involves not only our prayers but also our willingness to trust, to let go, and to receive. Just then, the light pouring through the stained glass windows took on a golden hue, illuminating each face like a divine embrace. It felt as if heaven had opened a little wider, beckoning them into a higher understanding. The sound from the night before stirred within again, echoing softly like wind chimes swaying in a gentle breeze. Still buzzing with newfound energy, one man gently raised his hand. "Pastor, what if God is asking us to believe even more? If our prayers can bring change, can you imagine what happens when we combine them with our actions?" The collective silence held a weight, wonder mixed with awe. What awaited them if they stepped boldly into the unknown? Just as they contemplated the question, a flash of thunder rolled in the distance, capturing their attention. Then, they all felt a small tremor of change in their spirits, setting the stage for what could be. What extraordinary journey might unfold when they dared to believe together, eyes wide and hearts open. They waited in expectation, eager to see what awaited them next. With hearts still aflame from the morning's blessings, the air carried whispers of possibility. The congregation detected an unmistakable shift. It felt as though God was inviting them deeper into his mystery. Pastor Thomas, sensing the divine anticipation swirling a little stronger, raised his eyes towards the stained glass. "Can you hear it?" he asked. "The call to step out in faith?" His question hung in the air, poignant and charged. The congregation, still in a circle of prayer, nodded gently. The stillness of the chapel wrapped around them like a warm blanket, inviting yet potent. As Thomas stepped closer to the edge of the pulpit, he continued with conviction. "Beloveds, sometimes God's greatest miracles unfold in the act of stepping out." His voice trailed, as if searching for the words that teased the edges of their faith. When we take those bold steps, when we become vessels of his healing, we actively participate in his work. At that moment, a young girl named Emma stood, her small frame radiating courage well beyond her years. "Pastor, what about the ones outside the church? What if they need healing too?" she called out, her voice both innocent and powerful. A ripple of smiles and murmurs of agreement filled the chapel. "Indeed," Thomas exclaimed, a spark of inspiration igniting his spirit. "God's healing knows no bounds. It reaches beyond these walls and into the streets, the homes, the very heart of our community." Encouraged by Emma's spirit, several others began to rise, sharing stories of friends and family who were struggling. "My brother, he's facing fear and doubt. He needs hope," one man shared, his brow creased with concern. "My neighbor is in pain," another added, her voice trembling. Each story was met with nods and murmurs of understanding, amplifying the current of empathy that coursed through them. Together, they formed a robust tapestry of healing needs. It wasn't just names spoken into the air, but hearts laid bare before God and each other. "Let us not only pray," said Sarah, standing proud beside Emma. "Let us go." The conviction in her voice rallied the congregation. Wide eyes turned to Thomas, who felt the pulse of revival thumping in the hearts he loved. "What if we took healing into our community?" he asked, excitement bubbling in his chest. "We'll visit those in need, share our stories of God's goodness, and pray with them in their homes." A murmur of agreement surged through the chapel. Ideas sparked vigorously visitation teams, prayer walks, community gatherings on the village green, and even a healing festival. But just as emotions swelled with enthusiasm, a familiar heaviness settled in some hearts, sending ripples of doubt through the excited throng. What if they don't believe? Someone whispered, the fear lurking in the shadows of faith. At once, Pastor Thomas felt a gentle pressure wash over him, urging him to speak to their hesitation. Belief can be fragile, but the beauty lies in showcasing God's love through our actions. It's in our hands to unlock hearts. As he finished, the golden hue through the stained glass deepened, enveloping them in warmth and encouraging whispers. Each smile ignited resilience, drawing forth the flame of faith. Let us go forth, praying and acting in love, Thomas declared, his voice rising to inspire. And let us share the testimonies of what he does through us. In exuberance, they began to prepare, buzzing with excitement for the work ahead. Just as they reached the cusp of momentum, a church bell tolled, reverberating through the air a reminder of sacred time and purpose. With purpose invigorating their spirits, they gathered around Thomas for one final prayer. Lord, lead us as we venture into the unknown. Fill us with boldness and compassion. As he prayed, hope surged like a tidal wave, filling every heart with mighty possibilities. The presence of God filled the room, thick and sweet, igniting desires for more of his presence. Yet, amidst all their plans, uncertainty lingered as a lingering question. What profound acts of faith awaited them beyond the chapel, and would they be ready to truly witness the miracles that followed their footsteps? Together, they took a deep breath, stepping into the allure of the mysterious path unfolding before them. As they filled their hearts with determination, the congregation felt a warmth that transcended the ordinary. Pastor Thomas watched Emma, her bright eyes sparkling with expectation. She may have been small, but in that moment, she radiated the boldness of a warrior. He smiled, recalling the countless ways God had used the unsuspecting to accomplish extraordinary things. Let us break into smaller groups, Thomas suggested, his voice steady and inspiring. We'll gather names of those we wish to visit, as well as any specific prayers for them. We can meet again at the village green tomorrow morning and set our plans into motion. Eager hands began scribbling down names on pieces of paper. Laughter mingled with serious discussions, an air of hope replacing the earlier hesitance. The room buzzed with life, a hive of faith unleashed from its confines. Each name written was a commitment, a promise of love reaching out. Emma leaned closer to Sarah and whispered, "Do you think our neighbors will really be happy to see us?" "Of course they will," Sarah replied, her eyes lighting up. "People are longing for connection. They want to know someone cares." The words hung in the air like a prayer, settling deep in Emma's heart. The sunlight began to wane, casting beautiful shadows that danced through the stained glass. The community forged a promise together, a tapestry woven from their collective faith. As the clock chimed, signaling the end of their gathering, Thomas felt a surge of excitement ripple through him. Outside the chapel, a refreshing breeze swept through the village, as if nature itself was encouraging their venture. The congregation, now a band of enthusiastic believers, filed out of the chapel, hearts lifted and spirits aflame. They stopped to embrace one another warmly, many offering prayers right there in the open air. Remember, Pastor Thomas raised his voice above the chatter, feeling deeply connected to this diverse group of souls. When we love our community boldly, we are sharing God's heart. Our hesitations will be met with his mighty courage. Just then, an elderly man approached the festive gathering from across the street. He walked with a slight hunch, but carried himself with an air of resilience. His name was Mr. Jacobs, a man the community had admired for his unwavering faith even in trying times. "Pastor Thomas," he called out, his voice trembling with age and wisdom. Everyone turned their attention to him, curiosity mingling with affection. "I heard about your plans. I have long wished to bless those in need, but I am too weak to walk far. Could you help me?" The congregation fell silent for a moment, taken aback by the request, Yet they sensed the divine thread woven through Mr. Jacobs' words. "Of course, Mr. Jacobs," Pastor Thomas reassured him. "We'll organize a way to bring the community together, starting right here at your home." Tears welled in Mr. Jacobs' eyes, glistening with gratitude. "Thank you, Pastor. This is a chance for me to share what God has done for me." "I have much to share with that." A ripple of inspiration spread throughout the crowd once again. Ideas for gathering emerged as quickly as wildflowers bloom in spring potluck dinners, neighborhood prayer services, and ways to build a bridge between those inside and outside the church walls. "Let us put our hearts into this," Emma chimed in, her small voice commanding attention. "We can have a healing day right here. We can invite everyone." With that simple idea, the congregation felt a wave of unity wash over them. They were no longer just individuals attending a service, they were a family on a collective mission, launching into the unknown with confidence. And as twilight descended, the air thickened with promise. Laughter echoed in the evening shadows, punctuated by affirmations of faith. But a question lingered just beneath the surface. How would God use them beyond their expectations? What divine surprises awaited them on this path of service and healing? They stood on the threshold of a new adventure, hearts entwined with hope, ready to witness what God had in store for them. And as stars began to twinkle overhead, the congregation breathed in the night air, eager to step into their tomorrow and unlock the heavenly testimonies waiting just beyond their reach. Morning broke over the village, golden rays spilling into the homes and illuminating the faces of those that had gathered. Emma was among the first to reach the village green, her excitement palpable. The scent of dew-kissed grass filled her lungs, invigorating her spirit. Today was the day they would begin their journey of love and connection. Soon, the rest of the congregation began to arrive, each person bearing their own expectation and desire to serve. Pastor Thomas welcomed everyone with open arms, his voice full of warmth and encouragement. "Good morning, my dear family. Today, we move with purpose. Let us invite God into every moment as we share His love." The energy was electric. Conversations bubbled over as people shared their specific prayer requests and the names they had written down the night before. They formed clusters, some strategizing how best to approach their neighbors, while others discussed the logistics of Mr. Jacobs' gathering. Emma stood close to Sarah, her mind racing. "Do you think we should bring flowers when we visit?" Emma asked earnestly, her small hands clasped in front of her. Sarah pondered for a moment. "Yes, definitely. Flowers can brighten someone's day. But what if we each bring a story, something wonderful that God has done for us? That could be uplifting." As the thought settled in, a sense of divine clarity washed over Emma. They weren't merely going to visit, they were opening a door to gratitude and hope. The congregation began assembling the flowers and stories. A local bakery had donated loaves of bread, and soon they had baskets overflowing with treats to share. With purpose and joy, they set off on their mission. Emma led some of the young ones toward Mr. Jacobs' home, her heart thumping in rhythm with their collective footsteps. As they approached, the elderly man's front porch came into view, adorned with cheerful wind chimes that danced in the morning breeze. As they knocked, anticipation filled the air. Mr. Jacobs opened the door, his wrinkled face breaking into a wide smile. My dear friends. What a joy to see you all." The sight of those young smiles sparked something beautiful within him. Emma handed him a small bouquet of flowers, their colors vibrant against his weathered hands. "These are for you, Mr. Jacobs. We're excited for your gathering today." His eyes misted over, but it was not sadness that showed, it was pure joy. "Thank you, sweet Emma. These remind me of God's blessings that bloom so beautifully in our lives." As moments passed and stories unfolded, laughter intertwined with heartfelt prayers. The community began to feel the weight of their shared burdens lift, an easing of the soul that breathed new life into their spirits. Each story like a light, illuminating the path toward deeper connections. But beyond these personal exchanges was an unshakable presence, among them a gentle whisper that beckoned the congregation toward something greater. What began as a simple visit transformed into a divine encounter, where hearts opened like flowers at the first light of dawn. God was weaving a narrative, one of healing and transformation, and everyone felt it in their bones. In a humble moment of silence, as they gathered their thoughts, Pastor Thomas raised his hands and softly prayed for guidance and strength. Lord, take our hearts and allow them to be instruments of your love. Help us see beyond ourselves and discover your will in the lives around us. With those words hung in the air, they sensed a shift, a stirring in their spirits. Just as Emma had hoped, something spectacular loomed on the horizon as evening approached, and they prepared for the gathering at Mr. Jacob's home. Anticipation electrified every heartbeat. It felt as if all of heaven awaited their next step, and as the day closed, they turned to the sky, now glowing with hues of orange and purple, wondering what miracles this day would unveil, what stories of faith and unity were still hidden, waiting to be revealed. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with vivid hues, the congregation's hearts beat in harmony with the rhythm of their shared mission. Emma led the group with eager steps, the weight of what awaited them settling in her spirit. What had begun as a bouquet of flowers and stories had blossomed into an afternoon pulsing with divine potential. They arrived at Mr. Jacob's front porch, which radiated warmth from within. The old wind chimes jingled like laughter, inviting them into a space filled with hope. The gathering was about connection, yes, but the atmosphere hummed with the promise of transformation. Inside, Mr. Jacobs had prepared an array of treats on his kitchen table. The aroma of freshly baked cookies mingled with the fragrance of the flowers. The chatter faded to hushed excitement as everyone settled down, their hearts open and expectant. "Let us start with a story," Mr. Jacobs suggested, his voice kind yet commanding. "I want to share the journey of how I came to find my place in this community." With each word, he painted a picture of struggles turned testimonies, of loneliness transformed through faith. He spoke of days when hope felt like a distant memory, days when he thought the darkness would swallow his spirit. But then, like a dawning light breaking through clouds, he recounted how God had sent little miracles, kind neighbors, unexpected friendships, and the warmth of a community rising together. Emma listened, enraptured. Her heart swelled as she understood that each story was not just a fond memory, it was a thread in the fabric of their shared faith, woven together by God's hands. As they took turns sharing their experiences, something remarkable happened. With every story, there were weeping eyes and joyful laughter, moments where hearts intertwined in empathy. They were no longer just individuals, they were a sanctuary of love, each testimony striking chords of familiarity and connection. Amidst the shared tears and laughter, Pastor Thomas stepped to the front, his presence commanding respect. "Let us invite the Spirit into this space," he said, clasping his hands together. "We are gathered not just to encourage one another, but to also offer the weight of our prayers and hopes." His voice carried a weight that made silence flutter across the room. Everyone bowed their heads, and an invisible current of faith surged. Emma whispered her own prayers, asking God to open even deeper connections among them, to kindle a fire that would ignite hope throughout the village. As the evening deepened, they moved to a circle, clasping hands. They were no longer strangers, but a tapestry woven together by the threads of faith. "Each of us has a unique role in God's plan," Mr. Jacobs spoke softly, his voice like a gentle breeze. "Let us embrace this divine mystery and allow ourselves to be called to action." Just as he finished, a soft knock echoed from the door, breaking through the sacred moment. Curious eyes turned toward the entrance. Mr. Jacobs opened the door cautiously, and a dense fog wrapped around them, obscuring the figure standing outside. A visitor? Or perhaps something more? With hearts racing, they collectively held their breath, wondering who or what might emerge from the mist. Just as expectations reached a peak, the door swung wide, revealing a woman cloaked in vibrant colors, her face masked behind stories yet untold. What message did she bring? What plan from the heavens awaited their understanding? The congregation stood poised at the brink of revelation, sensing that the evening was only just beginning. As the mysterious woman stepped into the light, a hush blanketed the room. She was radiant, her presence exuding power and grace. Pastor Thomas moved forward, eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and reverence. "Welcome, dear sister. What brings you to our humble gathering?" The woman removed her hood, revealing a face etched with wisdom and courage. "I come from a place of seeking," she began, her voice a melodic whisper. "A place where prayers have shaped destinies. I heard whispers of your love and commitment to heal your community. I carry a message from the heavens. It's time to let your faith reach the unreached." A collective breath held back the anticipation. Her words dripped with a sweet urgency, filling the room with a pressing presence. "God is waiting for you to take his love beyond these walls," she continued, her gaze penetrating through the hearts of each soul present. The room began to pulsate with the weight of her message. Emma, still holding onto her bouquet, felt her heart leap with hope. Hadn't that been their mission? To reach outside, showing love, kindness, and healing? Others began to nod, resonating with the thought, their spirits igniting with shared purpose. The woman raised her hands, filled with a palpable energy. "You hold the keys to unlock doors that have long been closed. A healing festival. A time to offer what the world so desperately needs: love, connection, and miracles. Invite everyone. Those who are lost, hurting, and seeking." Her voice crescendoed through the room, each sentence a clarion call to action. Pastor Thomas gripped the edge of the table, his heart hammering with excitement. "We could host it at the village green. We could offer prayers, food, and love." The thought spilled out, igniting fervor within everyone present. Martha stood up, her eyes glistening with determination. "Let us plan it. We'll bring our stories, our strengths, our faith. Together, we can light a fire in our village." The energy shifted as hands shot up, everyone buzzing with ideas and inspiration. "I can bake cookies. I can organize games for the kids. I'll pray for those who come." Every voice melded into a symphony of hope-filled intentions. As plans poured forth, the atmospheric warmth of divine connection settled deeper into their hearts. They envisioned the sound of laughter, the aroma of delicious food wafting through the air, and joy mingling freely amidst conversations of faith. "Let us pray for this festival and its impact," Pastor Thomas commanded gently, urging everyone into a moment of solemn reflection. Kneeling together in a circle, the weight of their collective prayers ascended in sweet incense toward the heavens. "O Lord, bless this endeavor. May it be a vessel of your love, healing, and hope." With each amen layered atop another, the unity solidified around this shared goal. As the evening waned, the mysterious woman's gaze shifted. "You are on the brink of transforming not just your village, but multiplying your love across distant lands. Your faith will echo beyond Bethelbrook." Emma squeezed the bouquet tight, feeling the budding purpose shoot through her spirit. They were dawning new souls armed with warrior spirits, ready to walk out and embrace the mission that awaited them. With the festival set for the following Saturday, the congregation departed from Mr. Jacob's home, hearts aflame with divine expectancy. Days passed, stitched together by prayers and preparations. Each morning was filled with an awakened passion, each evening transformed into earnest prayers for anyone and everyone they sought to reach. The village green buzzed with anticipation, alive with the faith they had cultivated. As Saturday arrived, the sun shone bright, casting light like a heavenly embrace. The field transformed into a tapestry of color tables draped in vibrant cloth, flowers blossoming everywhere, and laughter resounding like sweet melodies in the air. People from all corners began to arrive, skeptics mingled with believers, and those longing for connection joined together under the open sky. As Pastor Thomas stepped to the forefront, the crowd hushed, eager to glean the moment. "Welcome, beloveds," he proclaimed, his voice strong and filled with deep conviction. "Today, we embrace hope, share love, and extend our hands to one another as vessels of healing. Let your stories fill this green." As they moved throughout the festival, love echoed in every word and gesture. Emma and her friends hugged and prayed with little ones, while Martha shared her testimony with newcomers, illuminated by the light of God's grace. The atmosphere shimmered with miracles, hearts opened, spirits ignited, and prayers answered. The festival became a sacred masterpiece of healing, uniting the village and beyond into one diverse family of faith. By the end of the day, when the sun began to dip below the horizon, Pastor Thomas felt something shift in the air. As they all clasped hands beneath the twilight sky, he knew they had unlocked something powerful, something that would forever resonate in Bethelbrook. Let this be just the beginning. He rallied, his heart swelling with joy. With faith, all things are possible. We are his instruments in this world. Let us continue our journey together. The legacy of our prayers has only just begun. Every soul present echoed his words with a jubilant cheer, their hearts intertwined and one with the mission divinely given. The fire of unity, now ablaze, would carry forward, sending waves of love and transformation far beyond the village of Bethelbrook. Now, dear brothers and sisters, it's your time to act. Subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the message. Comment below and share your reactions and testimonies about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. You need to subscribe now, because this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share God's love.